Welcome back to another Talk Dragon Tuesday with RPW. So today we're going to go over the new tier that was just released, game issues, the event coming, and so much more. Now the first thing I want to talk about is, though, the game issues. There were a lot of errors in War Dragons this past week, which was things like not being able to invite. There was, the war issues. There was people that lost mega coins. And I understand this is very frustrating because it even affected my team. I actually had one player that completely quit the game because of the mega coin. But before you guys go up and just quit, please know that War Dragons is working very hard to fix any issues that ever arise. And also remember that sometimes the errors that we come across are symptoms of, things that are out of their control, like servers that are not their servers, it's who they lease from, or it can even be from cheaters. Cheaters within the game can actually make a lot of havoc, especially if they're trying to hack into the system and get some information. So if you ever suspect that someone on your team or someone else is cheating, never fail to send that up to the help desk so that they can look into that. All right, so I'm glad personally that a lot of this has been straightened out, and hopefully this next week, whenever you have your wars, turns out a lot smoother. Now this week is the breeding event. If you are very, very new to this event, or to this game I should say, the breeding event is we're going to go in and you're going to earn rewards for breeding your dragons. So if you're so new that you don't know about this event, you need to know that the #1 key thing for a breeding event is to save your egg tokens and fragments for the breeding events. So that means if we're not in the breeding event and it hasn't began and it's just ended and it's not during that time frame, then save back every single token that you earn and every fragment and save those for the event, because you're going to get a lot of prizes. And it's a lot more satisfying to breed a dragon than it is to breed a few pieces of a dragon. So if you go in and you do this every day, not only are you missing out on points, but you're also missing out on the fact of being able to feel like you're accomplishing something. Now, the next thing I want to mention about the breeding event is there are numerous guides out there that can help you with this. Now, the one that most everybody uses is Red's Breeding Guide. If you do not know what that is, be sure to go into Google and put Red's Breeding Guide, and you can find that. I also have a video on that on this channel as well, so be sure to check that out. But good luck to everyone on your breeding event, and I hope you get the dragon you were wanting. I am so excited. War Dragons Nerds group page on my Facebook is growing. We're over 60 people now, and I want it to grow more because I think this is going to be a great page for everyone to share information, ask questions. They aren't necessarily answered by me because there's tons of users out there that have answers as well. So it's a great place to get together as a community member and kind of share information, recruit for your members, put out cool pictures you might find on the internet, whatever you want. So it's a great way to socialize with anyone and everyone. So be sure to go check it out. If you go to your Facebook, in the top search engine bar, you can put in War Dragons Nerds, and it should pop up and you can apply to join. This past week, they actually released the new Vanguard Tier. Well, not the entire tier, but they say it's Wave 1. And I know that there's not very many players out there that watch my channel that are going to be able to breed these anytime soon. However, this is some pretty cool stuff, and I wanted to share it with all of you because one day we will all be in this tier. So let's go ahead and go through each of the dragons really quickly. And I'm going to talk about not only what they do, but there are some really interesting things I find about these dragons that I want to mention. Now, this is really cool because there is a theme for the Vanguard Tier dragons. They're all themed around the Atlas World map. So, with the Harbinger tier that was before them, they will be, of course, bred in and so forth. But it is really neat that they're all basically, inspired by the Atlas map, or the Atlas world, I guess you could say. And each of these dragons actually have a really cool backstory. So let's go ahead and jump into the first dragon, which is a very beautiful dragon. I think it's pronounced Jotun, and he is the Titanic Tempest. From the peaks of the frigid narrows, he weathers the storm. Many strange stone tablets can be found, each covered in ancient runic carvings. These edifices were created by Jotun, an ancient dragon obsessed with accumulating knowledge. Since his birth, Jotun has been recording the land's history, carving it into any available surface. Usually some piece of exposed stone is nearby, but sometimes the only canvas is Jotun's own skin and scales. So if you'll notice, he's got, the stone with the writing on it, and then all over his body. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Now, this dragon particularly puts me in the mind of that ice guy, the dead on The Walking Dead. I'm sorry, not The Walking Dead, but the Game of Thrones. The leader of the guy that's coming down when winter is coming. It just kind of puts me in mind of that guy for some reason. Very, very beautiful dragon. All right, so with him, he is a legendary ice warrior dragon, and you're going to be able to get him if you breed Keith and Shezard. His spells are the Storm Shield, Rampage, Sacrifice, and Elemental Resist. Now, Elemental Resist is a yellow, and it's a passive. The Sacrifice is an active blue 0 rage spell, and of course everyone knows what Sacrifice is. The Rampage is a white spell, 2 rages, and it gains 100% in increased damage. Heals dragon for 20% of dragon's max HP per tower destroyed. Rage generation is increased by 50%, and spell has a 4.5 second duration and a 10-second cooldown. Then of course he also has the Storm Shield, which is red 2 rages, which absorbs 150% of the damage taken until depleted. Then it will explode, damaging 18% of the dragon's max HP to the buildings. Spell has a 4-second duration and a 6-second cooldown. So pretty cool dragon here. But let's go ahead and jump into the next dragon. This next dragon is called, I think, Sandhyas. I don't know how you pronounce it. But he is the Blood Moon Drake. He kind of puts me under those funky monkeys that's got that red on their face or whatever, with, bare booties. But let's go ahead and talk about this dragon. Only emerges from the twilight woodlands during a harvest moon. Many natural phenomena manifest themselves with the presence of dragons. Some cause the seasons to come and go, while others bring them more foreboding events. Sandhyas' appearance signals the arrival of the blood moon. When the sky turns crimson, we all know Sandhyas is on the prowl. Now, he is a legendary wind hunter, and you've got to breed Rajin and Loken together. His spells is Blood Essence, which is an active yellow rage dependency. With this, you're going to be able to gain 1 rage and consume spell upon killing a tower. And the spell has a 2.5 second cooldown. Then Chaos is an active spell, blue 2 rage, And of course, a lot of you probably know what this does, but it will do an extra 200% of the damage on top of the base during the spell's 4-second duration. Then, of course, he has the blue spell of Cloak, which conceals your dragon so that enemy towers cannot attack you. And then the adaptive Flak Resist. So you're going to be able to change your Flak Resist types to gain a small amount of rage. So pretty cool. Now, this will only, of course, take down your resistance by 70%. So you will still deal some damage, but not as much. All right, so the next dragon is like this little leopard. It's pretty cool, but his name is Balam, and he is the Pouncing Terror. Now, this dragon is known for a prowling predator stalking other dragons from the jungle floor. The lore says human in the wind-blown shroud must be consistently aware of their surroundings, lest they fall victim to the vicious jungle wildlife. In turn, the vicious jungle wildlife must constantly be on the lookout for Balam. One of the apex predators in the shroud, Balam fears nothing. He prowls the underground, guarding his territory and turning those who stray too close to his next meal. Now, his, of course, is going to be a legendary dark warrior, and his parents are going to be Rajin and Wydrin. And again, I'm probably not pronouncing these correctly, so bear with me. Now, his spells are pretty cool. He's got one called Soul Devour. Now this is an active blue 2 rage spell which places a buff on your dragon for the duration of whenever a tower is destroyed. Your dragon will regain 25% of its base HP and rage, and this will have a 5-second cooldown. The next one is the Ferocious Shield. It is a white shield with 1 rage, and it absorbs all the damages and super shots for 5 seconds. After that effect, dragon deals up to 100% normal attack damage based on how much damage was absorbed. Dragon temporarily increases its attack power for 3 seconds after the shield duration. Then, of course, there's Regenerate, which is a blue 0 rage spell, which will heal 40% of the dragon's max HP over a 2-second duration with a 4-second cooldown. Then last but not least, a Fire Flak Resist, which seems to make perfect sense. So this reduces damages from the Fire Flak towers by 70%. Pretty cool dragon though, guys. He looks like a little leopard or something. I just think it's very, very neat, very different than what we're used to seeing. And whatever he's attacking is pretty cool. Now, I think they should have named this one Terminator, but his name is Reg Ryan, and he's the Draconic Artillery. Now, the latest model of the artifact dragon from the Firefield Artisans. Now, his lore is the gifted craftsmen of the Firefields have long been at war with the region's hostile dragons. Rather than fighting with cannons and arrows, the folk of Firefields constructed their own mechanical dragons to defend themselves. Reg Ryan is the most recent combat model based on what is, I don't know what that word is, colloquially called Hunter Dragon. Now, he is a legendary fire hunter dragon, and you need Dester and Mortil. Now, his spells are the Flash, which is a blue 1 rage spell, which is 100% dodge except for the beam-based attacks. These include ice turrets, lightning towers, storm towers, fire turrets, super shots, dragonflies. Why does it say dragonfly? Oh, the dragonfly is 50% slower. So basically, he's going to dodge a lot of any of the projectile attacks, but if it comes to the beam attacks with the towers I just mentioned, he's not going to be able to dodge those. Now, the Galvanic Overload is a red spell, 1 rage. Upon activation, spell deals between 110% and 200% of your dragon's base HP and to a tower. If this destroys a tower, a second cast appears that allows 1 bar of rage to be regained at a cost of 10% of your dragon's base HP. The second cast will be available within 4 seconds of the first. Then he also has the Entrap spell, which is white 1 rage, temporarily disables towers on a target area for 12 seconds. Disabled towers cannot attack or use super shots. And then the Adaptive Flak Resist. Now, that is a pretty cool one because this is a hunter. So not only does he have a way to regenerate his rage and his health, but he's got the Galvanic Overload, which is a great way to take out, large amounts of stuff pretty easily. And then he has the Entrap spell. So he's going to be a pretty amazing dragon. But the really cool thing about this specific dragon is that he looks so much like the old-time dragons. Like, if you go into your roster, you can look at Dactyl. He looks a lot like Dactyl. So I thought that was pretty cool about him, that he looks like he's come from the ashes. Now, the next one's kind of the same way. This guy is Ultima Rock, and he puts me in the mind of, oh, what is his name? I'm going to have to look real quick. Yes, Arborus. Arborus and him look a lot alike, as well as quite a few others. So that one is another really cool one, that it feels like they're bringing back to life the dragons that we first used and fell in love with. Now, with this dragon, he is the Sylvian Arcanist. And with his lore, it says, the glowing cradle is a magical cauldron for the elements. The new life consistently emerges from the earth, imbued with elemental power. Ultima Rock is no exception. Birthed from the mountain near the elvish settlement, Ultima Rock watches over his flock, protecting their secrets and secluded by the way of life. Now, he is a legendary earth sorcerer, and his parents are Destar and Estral. And his spells are Earth Familiar, which is a passive yellow spell, deals 1% of dragon's HP as damage, and has a 500% dragon's max HP as HP, absorbs 20% of damage, dragon would receive and increase his rage generation by 50%, which is pretty awesome. Then he has the magical barrier, active white, 0 rage. The dragon is shielded from all damage and blocks red and blue mage tower super shots, rage drain, and freeze effects. Spell has a 3.5 second duration and a 5-second cooldown. Then it has the Seeker Shots, which is an active red 1 rage spell, which shoots 10 homing shots at all targets in the area. Each projectile chooses one of the available towers. At the same chance, it deals 13% of the dragon's base HP and damage. Last but not least, the Adaptive Flak Resist. And of course, we all know that means it'll change its flak type to, as you go through. Either way, this dragon is absolutely beautiful. I just love the design of this. Kind of puts me in the mind of one of the dragons from, I think it was last season, as well as, like I had said before, an earlier on dragon. Now this is Kay's. Kay's is known as the Divine Typhoon. And according to his lure, this marks the 4th time I've tried passing through the fog. After leaving my campsite at dawn, I wondered what it would feel like for hours. Finally, the fog lessened, and I rushed ahead only to emerge exactly where I started. This journey was not a waste, however. Today, the most beautiful dragon caught my eye. It was soaring in the winds above, frolicking in the fog. Perhaps one day this mysterious fog will lift. If that dragon was in any indication of the land beyond, this will be the discovery of a lifetime. Now, let's go on through. This dragon is a legendary wind sorcerer, and his parents are Keth and Opes. His spells are the Umbral Spike, which is a white spell in this particular case, and 1 rage. Targeted area receives 10,000 times the normal dragon's damage, and heals 15% of the dragon's base HP to use. Now, the Northern Lights is a dark spell, active 2 rage, which gives ribbons of energy surrounding the dragon, making it invulnerable to the attacks for a total of 6 seconds. Once the 6-second duration is over, the ribbons of energy expand outward toward the affecting buildings in a range with their rage mark that gives a small amount of rage that persists between rounds. Now, the Mystic Barrage is an active blue 1 rage spell, which is the Dragon Breath deals 100% extra attack, and then has a 6-second duration. And then last but not least, he has an Ice Flak Resist, which is passive, which means he can, reduce the damage of 70% by any Ice Flak towers that would attack him. And what a beautiful dragon he is. Oh, a very cool new tier has definitely been released. I'm pretty excited to see if somebody puts some YouTube videos up. Okay, so starting this week, it's going to be a new 4-part series for July that I'm calling All About That Base. Now, this 4-part series will include 4 different basically weekly episodes that will be put out during the month of July. Now, let's go over what these are about so that you know if this is something worth watching or sharing with other members on your team. This Thursday, we will kick off our first episode of All About That Base, which will be called Back to the Basics. Now, Back to the Basics will be literally as it's explained. We're going to go over the very, very, very basics of base building and planning and so forth. So this is very, very little stuff. This is going to be for someone that's under like a level 40. This is not for someone that's really high up there. So bear with me. These are going to be bite-sized information videos, which brings me to my second video on next week, which will be using guides and planners. Now, there are a lot of guides out there and planners on the internet that you can use to plan yourself. And of course, this will help you prepare for any upcoming fortification events. So basically, the idea is I'll teach you how you can read the guides and the planners. And we're also going to go over the fact that some guides are obsolete because a lot has changed, and that there is more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to building your base. You don't have to make your base just like everyone else. There are lots of very effective ways to do that. Number 3, defense towers and perches. So we're going to go over the types of defense towers that are out there and their strength levels and why you should build them up and not out. And then we'll also go over the perches, which ones you should unlock and be working on versus the ones you shouldn't. And then, of course, number 4, the following week, which is the last one, will be ruining towers and defending. So one of the things I notice whenever I attack someone and they're defending or someone's defending for them is, especially from lower level players, where they'll click restore. You know, they'll be bringing that hammer out and I haven't even got to that island yet, so they've wasted it. So I know that there's a lot of people that really need to learn how to defend. I'm sure that there's people that are better than me at this out there, but this way I can give you at least a better understanding so you can practice and get it down better for yourself. I think I'm decent at it, so I don't think it's going to be terrible, but whenever you're recording yourself doing anything, you get nervous and you don't do the same things you would if you were all by yourself with nobody else watching in. So we will be going through that. Now, the ruining towers, we will go over specific runes and how they go with specific towers in general. Okay, so that will be a series I think everyone will enjoy, but let's go over this week's giveaway. In order for you to, enter to win a $20 in-game pack this week, you're going to go down to the comments section below and you're going to include your in-game name, and then you're going to put hashtag, and you're going to put the name of whichever of those dragons we went over is your favorite. So let's say that your favorite was K's. You would put hashtag K's, and don't forget to include your in-game name. Now, I want everyone to remember that these prizes are not distributed by myself, RPW, but by War Dragons. So I want to thank them for sponsoring today's video. However, if for some reason your name doesn't make my list because I've missed it, I do apologize. I could put you in a double name on the next round or whatever. Sometimes I just don't see things. I think I'm getting it. I think I'm going slow enough, and I apparently have been guilty of going over a few names before. But the next thing I want to mention is if you win, that will be announced later this week in an upcoming video. And then once I've got your information, I will send it up to War Dragons and they will send out your prize by the end of this weekend. If for some reason by Monday morning you have not received your prize, feel free to message me and I will look into it for you. Alright guys, so that pretty much wraps up today's video. If you have any questions or any comments, concerns, or even anything to add to today's video, feel free to put that in the comments section below. And don't forget to go check out War Dragons Nerds on Facebook and join us in the conversation. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. Once we build it up where we got a lot of people and a lot of interaction in there, I think it's going to be a really fun place to chill. Alright guys, don't forget to put in your chance to win the in-game pack before you head out. But that will be it for today. Before you leave though, don't forget to leave my video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell for notifications. Happy hunting!